Okay, time to delve back into the NDK Explorer, and because my background is wilderness medicine, emergency medicine, I tend to think of this as a patient. So let's make a problem list and a plan. Let's go. So Joey at Turning Point has already been nice enough, kind enough to have a long conversation with me about the repairs that I have going forward, as well as he's helped me out in terms of choosing the materials for the repairs. Sort of once I get started, I'm not that worried about it. I'm worried about it. I'm going to start on simple things, but as I said, we got to start with a problem list. So let's figure out exactly what we're going to do. I'll be honest, I think this whole boat could use a gel coat, but I think that we're going to polish it and see how it looks. That's last step. Let's start on first steps. First step, I think, is honestly going to be right here. This looks like a relatively simple crack to fix. This is just gel coat, and I think that's going to be where we're going to start. And I'm honestly just going to start marking these up. Don't worry, it's dry erase. This is number 2. I apologize for the harsh light. This was repaired and has a bunch of cracks, so that's all going to get sanded down and re-gel coated. Joey was concerned that this was not patched with the correct stuff.
Home repair is their favorite materials, Marine Tex, which is an epoxy. And the gel coat's not going to be happy on top of it.
So that's going to get like an extra deep sanding. Yeah, so we'll see what that looks like. But this is number 2. This is not a keel strip. This is like keel strip tape or something like that. And this occurred from one loading on the roof of my van. We're going to come back to that, but this is eventually going to be a full keel strip, but that's further down the road. I'd rather chew this up than undertake that process. You can even see it's not particularly straight. Let's call that number 3. There's no real place for me to put that. Great deal of cracks over here. We're actually going to call this number 3. Much more worried about that than I am the keel strip. All of these are going to be good practice and build my confidence to get me to the point where I'm ready to deal with this. The interesting thing about this is that Joey feels, and I have no reason to doubt Joey, I can easily say he has forgotten more about boat repair than I will ever know. This was already repaired once based on what he sees.
There was 2 things with that. And when I took a look at it, when I pulled it down and got it ready for you to pick up, it's been repaired before. This is not the first time that is working. And there is epoxy in there, and the epoxy did not adhere. And that's probably why it failed and broke when it contacted the garage door. So there's a lot of epoxy that is in the cockpit opening on the boat, and I think there's some that's adhered to that. Get rid of that stuff.
And so we got a lot of work to do cleaning up the original repair. So all of this extra material has to come out, and both sides need to be cleaned up and then rebuilt. And actually I can feel underneath where that repair was done. Let's see what that looks like actually. So that's number 4, and that's the big one. Number 5 is the cockpit in general. I would really like to get this cockpit back into some sort of shape close to what it was out of the factory, which means the foot brace instead of foot pedals needs to go, and the seat needs to go. Yeah, so I suspect I'm going to be ordering a seat from the UK. With that in mind, I am going to spend a little bit of time today, right now, trying to get some of these seat components out without doing too much damage. But yeah, let's get to work on that. For starters, I want to work on that, at least getting the block of wood out of there, which just drives me crazy. Oh, yes, clearly homemade. Oh my God. Okay, I am delighted to see that those are the original foot pegs that are in there, and they are in good shape. They could use some cleaning up, but they will be fine. I don't have to replace those. This was what was down there. So one of the reasons why this boat seems so heavy, that was holding that in place with the foot pegs locking in there. Actually, I think it went that way. This is a yoga mat. Yeah, a Gaia yoga mat. I'm going to show you right now what I think of these two things. I'll tell you, I had been wondering why this boat was so heavy. It's still heavy compared to my Delta. It's supposed to weigh, I think it's supposed to weigh 58 pounds. I'm going to double check that. I'll put that on the screen. But it definitely weighs more than that. But getting that block of wood out of it made a world of difference. I'm going to work on getting some of these other seat parts out, particularly this, which does not belong. Oh, that is bad. Oh. Shells. Excellent. Not a good sign. All that has to be replaced. This boat is a mess. Okay, this is inside the cockpit. That's your Skeg deploy. This is all debris. I just pulled out this pad. I suspect that this is the original mounting point for the seat. I've got to find a new seat, but I suspect that's where it's going to mount. Hopefully those threads are still good. Okay, the last thing on my problem list is actually a design issue with this boat. When I test paddled the Romney, I said this. Okay, so that's interesting. I can hear the Skeg moving. Yeah, it's definitely the Skeg. So that Skeg is a little loose. That would probably drive me crazy. And I'm realizing what was causing that noise, that rattle from the Skeg is this. This is just a poorly designed piece of gear. This is screaming for washers or something 3D printed. Essentially, this is just a notch in a piece of plastic on a metal peg. That is just horrible design, and that needs something to keep it from doing that all day long. Okay, so that's where we stand on the Explorer. I've got a lot of cleaning to do on this boat to get that cockpit sort of workable, and I've got to order the components for starting repairs, and we're going to start on that simple crack. If you want to see how this plays out, hit like and hit subscribe. There will be many more videos to come. This boat, I do not think, based on all the other things I have going on, this boat will not be done until spring, which is when I will hopefully get to paddle it for the first time. But a lot to do to get this boat ready for the water. All right, I'll see you outside. Found another, more repair work.